Okay. I like starting the classes because accepts the rules in terms of everything. I may be teaching differently than Miss J, but it's the same topics. Okay. So for seniors and the ones who've been here with at least one math sequence, what's your advice to this freshman to to be able to adjust to the math that we have and keep up? Just so you know, finals for math and pharmacology are on November 11th, both classes. November 11th. Yes, Ashlyn.
I would suggest watching the videos before we actually learn it in class, so it's not like it's brand new. So you know what you're getting into. That's
Correct. Okay. The first day we had a few minutes left. I asked you to watch the video. Okay. I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. Okay. There's not a lot of few minutes left every day. So you have to do it on your own. So take her advice, watch it. You'll know the topic. I arranged it in order on your Blackboard. For math, I don't use anything on Blackboard when I teach. The ones on Blackboard is for you. The videos are for you. I do it live here, but I expect you to have at least watched the topics so you're not going to be behind. That's how you buy time. Okay. What about you, Maria? What's your suggestions here to the freshmen? Practice, 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 practice. Just like with your drug words, practice, 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 practice. Okay. It is true. So I give you worksheets that are not on the book. That's my preference. Okay, it works. However, your book is with you. If you have questions that you want answered or explained, what do you do, Maria? If they have questions from the book that they want answered and it's not yet the topic here, or it was an old topic, what do they do? Stay after class and have me answer those questions. Okay. Ty, you've had one math sequence with me. What's your advice to the freshmen?
Stay after class.
Stay after class. Okay. Jessica?
Learn the best way to memorize for you.
Learns differently. I don't like the word memorize, not even with drugs. That's why I tell you a lot of stories when it comes to pharmacology. Did you see how long I've been stuck on one page and it's just a title? Because I'm trying to make a point. Okay. And so for math, there's really nothing that you need to memorize. You got to know the steps. So I break down the steps all the time. I guess conversions, you have to remember the conversions, okay? But once you practice, it feels like you don't have to memorize it, right? Because it comes naturally, okay? Kathy, gato. Gato is cat. Okay, that's why gato. That's her nickname.
I didn't say you don't like memorize, but memorize the conversions, but like you said, it does come second nature because now at this point I kind of can recall not all of them but most of them, so it's easier. And I'm guessing by the next sequence I should be even better with doing a second.
Yeah, practice. Right? So many worksheets. I'm gonna give you worksheets. Those are worksheets that are not in your book. I didn't get them from the book for a reason. Okay. Emily.
Yeah, know the conversions and the formulas, and write it down whenever we take our first quiz. I recommend it.
Yes, that's good. You write the conversions on your test paper. That's what I do, which I'm going to discuss something today that I put on my test paper every time. Yes, thank you.
Don't forget the leading to.
Correct. There are a couple of rules that we need to follow to prevent medication errors. One, she said, don't forget your calculator. I don't allow phones to be your calculator, not even in the board exam, not the PTCE, not the ExCPT. You're not allowed to use your phone as a calculator. Some proctors will give you a calculator, a little one, but some proctors will be sticklers and say, use a calculator on the computer. Okay. You're given 3 laminated sheets on the PTCE back to back. You're not allowed to erase any of those as scratch paper. Okay, any of those you wrote in there. Okay, dry erase marker, no eraser. So you have 6 pages basically for the PTCE. I think they still do that. Calculator showing no. And let me remind you, check your calculators at this point if you have the square root functionality. This is the symbol for square root because you need that this sequence. Sometimes those big calculators for the store, they don't have this functionality. So you want to make sure that you have that. I don't have the big one. I think it's at the back at the lab, but they don't have this. So double check because you need it's the sequence for body surface area. Okay. Sam. She said rules before I get back to Sam. Rules. Do not forget the leading 0, but drop the trailing 0. That's a big rule. It is a big rule. Why? It helps minimize medication errors. Our brain is not programmed to look for a decimal point before a whole number. But if there's a 0 before that, then a decimal point, then a 7, then it tells our brain, hey, I'm less than 1. I'm less than a whole number. Because if you just do this, it can be misread as 7, which is 10 times overdose than the real answer. Can you imagine? This is the drug that you need to inject. So rule number 1, do not forget the leading 0. But if your final answer is 7, drop that trailing 0. Because our brain is not programmed to look for a decimal point after a whole number. This can be misread as 70, which is a 10 times overdose. Is that clear? Don't say, oh, it's an underdose anyway. No, an underdose is just as bad as an overdose. Remember antibiotics, our topic this morning? That's the problem. Okay, so those rules, remember, okay? I say verbal orders too, okay? My verbal orders are just as good as prescription because verbal prescriptions are valid prescriptions. There are rules per state or per prescription. If a prescription is phoned in, it's a valid one. That's a verbal order. However, they have to fax or email, we call it fax, the prescription within 72 hours, depending on the rules. Okay, but as a general rule, 72 hours. So don't say that, oh, I didn't catch that because it's not written. No. So my instructions are just as good as your paper instructions. And if there are no instructions on the worksheet, my verbal order applies. As a general rule, keep everything 2 decimal places or hundreds place except for temperature. That's my rule. Okay. But if there's a specific instruction on the test paper, like keep the 10th place, 100th place, follow the test instructions. Is that clear? That overrides my verbal order. Just some reminders. Okay. Sam, your advice to a freshman?
Ask for help.
Ask.
For videos. Stay after school. I always double check my work just in case.
Yes. I like those. Ask for help. Don't be sinking already before you ask for help. You feel you can't reach the bottom, ask for help right away. And you don't know how to swim, ask for help right away. Okay? Because it's harder for me to get you out of that once you're already sinking. Okay? Ask for her help earlier on. And what's help? Tutoring. Back in the day, tutoring is only 2 times a week, 1 hour each. But I'd stay here for tutoring almost every day, especially when I teach math, up to 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours. Okay, as long as I don't have a meeting, I'm not outside inspecting pharmacies, I'm here. So that's how you ask help. You may have a topic that's already passed, not our current topic. Okay, it's okay to go back to those topics. Stay. Okay, but I have a lesson plan I follow, okay, for everyone. Now, if you're behind, don't punish yourself. Come to tutoring. If you want to be ahead and you want a specific question answered and that topic is going to be for this sequence, come to tutoring. Like she has a question on body surface area. That's not till next week. She was asking me while you guys were eating. I said, stay after class. Okay. What else did Sam say? Double check your work. Double, triple check your work, that you're following the rules. There's no harm in that. I don't even time your exams for the benefit of the ones who are not fast. Okay? When I used to teach at CSN 1 hour's final exam, that's it, finished or not. Josh, what's your advice to the freshmen?
I guess I could use this as an example. I was looking at one of your YouTube shorts the other day, and I wasn't sure to read each question properly and carefully, since one misinterpretation may lead to a miscalculation, and we don't want that when we're working, since that could kill someone. Like grams could be misinterpreted. If I remember.
Yes. Okay, so you mentioned YouTube Shorts. So I have long form videos for you guys, but I have employees outside of here. I pay somebody like a virtual assistant who chops the videos into shorts so it's easily digestible. I gave him a prescription of TID. So he publishes it at 6 in the morning, PST. At noon, the 6 a.m. is 30 seconds, I think, 60 seconds tops. The noon is 3 minutes, 2.5 to 3 minutes. And then the 6 p.m. is another short. So it's easily digestible. Okay. But you guys see me here, do it here. But if you want those little doses of short lessons, Maria watches that. Josh, I didn't know you watches that too. I pay that person from out of my pocket, not for me. I do things like that for you guys so that it'll help you. Okay. Erin?
Are taking time if you don't understand something to study outside of class, there are practice problems in your group.
Yes, correct. And your PTCE is your board exam or word problems. Okay, that's why we practice towards the end, word problems. Ashley?
Write everything down that's being written on the board, and also if you have like problems understanding it, stay after class, or just make yourself, or like work in the workbook. Like Erin said, or just make practice problems by yourself until you get it.
Correct. Okay. Justine?
Tutoring. It really helps. I've seen Maria and Steve sometimes be mad, they really benefit from it. The videos help a lot too, but if for some reason like you don't like Miss L's teaching of like math, like the way she does it, there's a whole different bunch of videos of like how to set up like formulas and stuff like that. So if Miss L's for some reasons like her videos
Don't click.
you can there's a bunch of other videos that have the same topic. But
The tips that I give you, like he said, if it doesn't click, there's so many resources now. It's the best time to study. Back in the day, it was just books and library for us. Now you have all this resources available to you. Okay, but my tips are based off about 10,000 students in the last 15 years, like what works for them and what doesn't. So I survey students a lot and I listen a lot. Okay, and that's how I adapt and adjust. I wouldn't have taught math the way I teach it now if not for the students' feedback. Okay, I would have stuck to dimensional analysis, and you'll have to go do algebra 1 and algebra 2 if I'm going to stick to how I learned it in pharmacy school. But no, it was the other way around. I adjusted so you'd understand. Okay, so but there are other materials out there that's available to you. But remember, those tips came from students too. Many of my tips, okay, or learning from my students. Steve.
Videos and studying.
Watch videos and study. Okay. One of those tips I'm talking about is the clock, which I don't think Ms. J mentioned to you. She did? Okay, that's really cool if she did. So this was from Jim, one of my former students. I always see him draw a clock for time conversion on tests. He has this clock and he said, just look inside. Everybody that's inside is AM. And once he looks outside, it's all PM. Sense, right? That's from a student. And I've seen through the years more and more students use the clock method for converting standard to military time. Who uses this then? Okay. One thing you'll hear me say a lot, stop multiplying and stop dividing when converting. Use ratio and proportion because I've seen it. Was the most common mistakes students make in the last 15 years I've been teaching. Why? They multiply when they have to divide. They divide when they have to multiply. Okay? And what is the problem there when we're doing conversion and then you multiply when you have to divide? It becomes an overdose. What's the problem when you divide when you're supposed to multiply? It's an underdose. You know what's a foolproof way of doing it? 2 ways. One is ratio and proportion. The other one is dimensional analysis. It's foolproof. So on your first conversions test, which is going to be on Friday, because I know I'm going to finish conversions today, okay? Make sure you double check your work and you will see notes. If I see that you multiply, that's why that's your mistake. When you're supposed to divide, I will put in there, use ratio and proportion for conversion because it's just foolproof, okay? One of the most dangerous conversions you will ever encounter or do math on is the topic that Ms. J covered, which is your kilogram. This is brand new. I don't know why I like this. I just got it. This is kilograms, okay, to grams, grams to milligrams, and milligrams to micrograms conversion. The most dangerous. It can go this way or it can go this way. Is that clear? When I'm faced with this problem, I write 3 things on my test paper. Okay? 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams. 1 gram equals 1,000 milligrams. And 1 milligram equals 1,000 micrograms. And I put it in a box. That's it. Okay? Why is this so dangerous? Because 1 mistake is 1,000 times overdose. Just to tell you a story. This is true story at Summerlin Hospital. Baby named Alyssa Shin died because the baby was given milligrams of zinc instead of micrograms of zinc. What do you think happened to the baby? The baby died. So if you visit Summerlin Hospital, there's what we call a garden of innocence in there. When I'm there, I go there. I sit in there for a few minutes. That's where she's dying. It was a pharmacist, nurses, everybody's there. That's why this is the most dangerous mistake you'll ever have. And this is the reason why one of the rules that TJC suggests is do not use the symbol mg or mcg anymore. A prescriber should write in full word milligrams, micrograms, whatever you need or the patient needs. Is that clear? This is followed on the board exam, this rules. So if I may say rule number 3, rule number 4. Okay? Which means, say for example, your final answer is 0.7 milligrams. Option A, okay, 0.7 mg. Option B, 0.7 mg. You did the math, okay? Option C, 0.07 mg. Option D, 0.7 milligrams. Which one is the correct answer? D, because it followed the 2 rules. Do not forget the leading 0 and spell out milligrams. Is that clear? Okay, so even if Ms. J taught these topics, I will not forget to remind you these rules. Okay, so once you write this, I suggest that you use ratio and proportion. Okay, or dimensional analysis if you know it. Okay, so that you don't get it wrong because it's a very dangerous mistake. Dangerous. Okay, there's a lot of questions like this on the board exam. Checking whether you know the rules. Okay, remember this. Sometimes the question is from kilograms to micrograms to milligrams. So it's 2 jumps. It's 2 jumps. And that means it's 1,000,000 times overdose. So pay attention. It's one of the biggest things. Okay? Use ratio and proportion. Say, for example, 7 kilograms convert to milligrams. There's 2 jumps, right? For the dimensional analysis. No one? Well, this is how we learned math in pharmacy school. It's going to be longer. I did not insist on teaching it this way. Because when I ask who knows dimensional analysis, nobody raises their hands. And so this is how I'd like you to do it. Okay? Forget about it, but it's foolproof. Okay? So what you do is ratio and proportion. If a kilogram is 1,000 grams, that's why I write this on my test paper first. I'll get the answer of this one first. 7 kilograms is to X grams. So now you know, it validated that you have to multiply and not guessing. Right? So this becomes 7,000 grams. But do I end there? No, because the question is to milligrams. So I do another one, right? You can continue or you can do dimensional analysis. So 1 gram to 1,000 milligrams equals 7,000 grams is to X milligrams. It just validated that you have to multiply again. So this becomes how many zeros? 6. Is that clear? A couple of things. Spell out milligrams, spell out micrograms. Okay. Some more abbreviations. Grams may be abbreviated as capital G, lowercase g, capital G, lowercase m, and lowercase gm. I noticed that the board exam likes PTCE likes using GM as an abbreviation. That's why I mentioned it now. Okay? GM. These are all acceptable. Back in the day, this symbol was used. What would you think this is?
Milligrams.
Wrong. That's why this is not used anymore. Because this is the mu symbol and it pertains to actually micrograms. Crazy, right? So I had a student back at the state and he came back and he said, Professor Loader, what's UG? I said, there's no symbol such as UG, but maybe there's no font that's appropriate the mu sign and the letter G. This was back in 2000. It's actually milligrams. Okay, so we don't use this anymore. Just some reminders before I move on to the next topic. Okay, any questions on this one? Okay, our next topic is grains to milligrams conversion. Okay, when do we use this? Here are a couple of drugs that we use this conversions on. Some drugs that use grains are nitroglycerin, abbreviated as NTG. Okay. We also have thyroid meds and phenobarbital. Student calls it phenobarbital. She pictures a Barbie doll that's having seizures, she said. Why does phenobarbital is for seizures? It's funny, sticks in the head. I said that in my book. Okay. So nitroglycerin has a different conversion factor versus this too. Let me tell you the story. Okay. For milligrams to grains or grains to milligrams conversion. Some more reminders. GR is not the same as grams. As GM. They're totally different. Okay. Totally different conversion. To tell you the history, it's based off of a grain of barley. Okay? You know the libras, the weighing scale. Who is a libra here? You know your sign, right? It's a weighing scale, right? It's the balance. Okay? So back in the day, we used to measure our drugs using those balances. You did compounding, we had Wedgwood and stuff like that, right? So as a reference to compare a grain, they use a grain of barley. Okay? But a grain of barley is not going to be the exact measurement each time, right? Just like your rice. It's not the same exact measurement, okay? So there are a couple of differences. You will see that a grain is equal to 6 milligrams, or a grain is equal to 64.8 milligrams, which is also in whole numbers 65 milligrams. Can you follow? That's the estimate. This is the reason why there's a couple of discrepancies, but this is what I want you to know. If they specify nitroglycerin, you will have to use this. Nitroglycerin is a grain, GR equals 60 milligrams. Other drugs, especially phenobarb and thyroid meds, it will say on the bottle if it's 64.8 or 65. Usually 64.8. Okay? So know those things. The worksheets I'm going to give you, it's going to be all nitroglycerin because it will say on top a grain is 60 milligrams. So if you want to picture that, just get a grain of rice. If you don't have a grain of barley, that's 60. Still stick in the head or have that visuals. Okay? Have that visual. Okay? So those are your two conversion factors. I will pass around a conversion factor for nitroglycerin. I'm not asking you to memorize them because we can always calculate. But these are the conversion factors for nitroglycerin. Grain, you know how we write numbers first and the symbol? But for grains, it's usually GR first, following. GR first, then the Roman numeral. You did Roman numerals with Miss J, right?
Yes.
Okay. GR first and the Roman numerals versus 60 milligrams, right? Number first, then the symbol. Okay. For grains, it's usually written as GR, then the Roman numerals. Are you following? Which this tells you that this is what?
4 grains.
4 grains, correct. So if I'm to convert this to milligrams, I highly recommend that you use ratio and proportion. So using nitroglycerin, 1 grain is 60 milligrams. Where do I put 4? On top. 4 grains is X milligrams. By doing that extra step, we didn't kill anybody. Why? It's because it validated that you have to multiply. You're not guessing. And so the answer is 240 milligrams. You follow? If you see half GR, just in the example, okay, half GR, and you didn't realize that it's 60 a grain. Well, if I see that, I know it's 60 milligrams, I'd say 15 right away. What you do, you convert this fraction into a decimal first, then proceed. Is that clear? Convert this fraction into a decimal first. That's still in grains. Then proceed to converting it. Let's do some in-class work. And it specifically says in here 1 grain is 60 milligrams, which means we're converting what drug? Nitroglycerin, correct. Okay. I usually give 1 in class, 1 homework. In class we do, in class. Okay, and I call you one by one. For this particular topic, I don't have a homework because you have finals. Finals, you have a quiz on Friday. But you do have a homework for the next. Okay. Freshmen, don't get intimidated by the students who've been with me for 1, 2, or 3 sequences. This topic is repeated every time so that you remember it. When you're on your first one, it's your beginners, okay, level. When you're on your second and your third math, it's your intermediate level. And when you're on your fourth, it is your expert level. So because this is the foundation conversion, state supply quantity to be dispensed, I repeat it every single time we have a new math. The new topic comes the last week before finals, which is pediatric dosing for you guys for this particular topic. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes to work on grains to milligrams to grains conversion. I really highly recommend that you don't multiply or divide, because when I check your work and I see that you do that, you're going to hear me say, I told you so. Just extra step. We don't kill anybody. I've seen it. It's the most common mistake through the years. All homeworks are due when? The next time you see me, okay? Freshmen, just so you know, I'm your main instructor for all your difficult classes. Pharmacology and math. But Miss J does it on Mondays. Usually I'll just ask her to recap or review. But Friday I was off, so she really has to cover for me. Okay? And then she is your lab instructor. So if you have problems in math and pharmacology, come to me. If you have problems with your lab grades, come to Miss J. Go to Miss J. Did anybody miss any homeworks? Because I see a stack of topics of worksheets here that were not handed, or those are just extras. Everybody got the worksheet from Friday? Calvin?
Yeah.
Were you here Friday? What's the most important? What's the heaviest grade? In class and homework. So if you miss that, there's a very big chance that you're going to fail. So you might want to ask what you missed. I don't know what you missed because I wasn't here Friday. Homeworks and in-class are usually 35% of your final grade. So it's very hard to pass when you miss a homework or you're absent. It's easy to pass all the classes by just being here, and I don't like that. So check in with your seatmates. Yes.
Still want it?
You have
What are y'all gonna for 6?
Yeah, I just left it at 0.06 and then I divided. I multiplied that by 6. But sugar.
How's it?
6 months.
Well,
Everything.
Okay.
I just see it.
It's just me today, so if Jayleen's here, it's easier.
So.
I'm moving there for sure. Just don't see you. I'm gonna go at least. Thank you. Getting ready to move.
That's gonna put it in the decimal and then.
On the dot to moving.
That's 60.
I will come back.